Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host for this video, Ryan, and today we are going to be taking a look at the top 5 worst Money in the Bank winners in WWE history. So the Money in the Bank has been around in WWE for 20 years. Yes, that's right, 20 years. The first Money in the Bank ladder match took place at WrestleMania 21, which happened way back in 2005. Over the years, it's helped superstars to make the jump up from the mid-card to the main event, with the likes of Edge, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and more recently, Damian Priest. But there have also been occasions when this didn't happen. In fact, on the odd occasion when the Money in the Bank killed off the momentum some wrestlers had started to build, whereas sometimes the winner just made absolutely no sense at all. So last year we decided to do our top 5 Money in the Bank cash-ins. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go back through our playlist of top 5s and you'll be able to find the top 5 Money in the Bank cash-ins. And today we are going to be doing our worst Money in the Bank winners. So join us as we look back over the last 20 years in history. And as always, feel free to list your 5 in the comments section below. And don't forget, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the Wrestling Group today. So we'll start at number 5, Damian Sandal. Now, Sandal was a strange pick to begin with to win the 2013 Money in the Bank contract. The match also featured the likes of Cesaro, Cody Rhodes, Dean Ambrose, Fandango, Jack Swagger, and Wade Barrett. At least 4 of these would have been better picks than Sandal. After the fact that he went into a feud against tag team partner Cody Rhodes, which was seemingly leading to Rhodes then taking the Money in the Bank from Sandal. But he did not. Sandal did get a custom Money in the Bank briefcase though, which to be fair looked kinda cool. But that's about as positive as you're going to get from me about Sandal as Mr. Money in the Bank. Oh, that and the fact that 4 others that were arguably worse than him. Sandal would hold the case for 106 days before unsuccessfully cashing in on John Cena, who he had attacked, leaving him with just 1 working arm. But as we all know, that's more than enough for Super Cena to be able to squash someone in 2 minutes flat, using 1 arm and 1 move to get the job done. He was just the second superstar to fail in their cash-in attempt. Number 4, Mr. Kennedy. At WrestleMania 23, Mr. Kennedy won the Money in the Bank briefcase and had stated that he would wait a full year before cashing it in at WrestleMania 24. This would give WWE a solid build for him to be able to push him on to become a main event superstar. Unfortunately though, this wouldn't happen. Mr. Kennedy picked up an injury which was misdiagnosed. They thought that the injury was in fact a tricep tear, which the doctor said would leave Kennedy on the sideline for around 9 months. WWE then acted fast. They had Kennedy put his Money in the Bank briefcase on the line in a match against Edge, which storyline wise of course made no sense, as he said he wasn't planning on cashing it in for a year, which of course then Mr. Kennedy would lose. Edge would then successfully cash in for the 2nd time, making him once again a world champion, while Kennedy, going back to the doctor's office, would in fact only need 6 weeks out. Now obviously 6 weeks is a hell of a lot quicker than 9 months, and he would have been able to obviously stayed as Mr. Money in the Bank for 6 weeks and not wrestle rather than the 9. This misdiagnosis cost him massively, as he would never recover from the loss, and of course being made to look like a fool by being goaded into putting the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line versus Edge in the first place. So in at number 3 is Otus. I still have literally no clue what WWE were thinking when they put the 2020 Money in the Bank briefcase on Otus. First off, he won it as a supposed mistake when Styles couldn't keep hold of it at the end of the cinematic variant of the match, which, let's be honest, was garbage. He had said originally that if he did win, he would use it to get the tag team titles for him and his Heavy Machinery tag team partner, Tucker. As for the first time, WWE actually explained that the contracts were never just for the world title, but more a title of that person's choosing. This obviously never happened, and then we got a heel turn from Tucker, which ultimately killed his WWE career, as they legit had nothing for him to do after this heel turn. Otus would then hold the contract for 168 days, with barely a mention or a reference. WWE clearly had forgotten what the original idea for this was before they decided to have him face The Miz and, of course, put the contract on the line, the contract that he'd never actually attempted to cash in with, on the line, and, of course, Otus would lose, bringing an end to this absolute mess of an idea that no one still can tell me why Otus became Mr. Money in the Bank. So in at number 2, Austin Theory. Another shocking win, Austin won the 2022 Money in the Bank briefcase. Now the reason it was so shocking for Austin Theory to win was because he'd not actually been on the main roster all that long before winning the Money in the Bank. But at least in his defence, it did seem to have somewhat of a bright future ahead of him, especially after linking himself with Vince McMahon. WWE then had up to a year to convince the fans that he was ready to become a top heel and a main eventer for the company. What actually happened was over the course of 129 days, Theory would be teared down completely instead. He would lose most of his matches, and during the summer of 2022, Theory would be humiliated over and over again every time that he attempted to cash in the briefcase. Theory then became the first, and up to now only, superstar to cash in the Money in the Bank contract for a mid-card title. Yes, that's right, and not the world title, and as Otus had specified earlier, you didn't actually need to cash in for a world championship. He did so for the United States Championship against Seth Rollins, and of course, he failed. And if all that wasn't bad enough, a few weeks later, Austin Theory would win the United States Championship anyway. So why not just give it to him at the cash-in, considering you made him lower himself to not want to go for the world title, which makes absolute zero sense, because if you got a chance to go for the championship, especially considering he'd never been a singles champ, of course you're going to go for the world championship. So that is number 2. So that leaves 1. What is the worst Money in the Bank winner in history? Well, in fact, it is James Ellsworth, or Carmella, if you like. So Carmella's reign as Mrs. Money in the Bank and eventual successful cash-in actually wasn't that bad at all. But how we got to that, we have to look at this absolute monumental cluster F of an ending. So in 2017, WWE decided during the whole women's revolution angle that they wanted to give the women the same opportunities as men. This came in the shape of the Money in the Bank ladder match, which, of course, was a great idea. Fans were excited to see who would be the first ever female winner of the Money in the Bank contract. So at the time, Carmella had aligned herself with James Ellsworth for, I can't actually remember what reason they decided to start teaming, who would obviously go to help her win matches. Now, for some absolute unknown reason, WWE decided that they would have James Ellsworth actually climb the ladder, unhook the Money in the Bank briefcase, and of course hand it to Carmella, which would then in turn make her the winner of the Money in the Bank briefcase. So the first ever winner of a women's Money in the Bank ladder match was technically a man in the midst of a woman's revolution. The rebuilding of the women in WWE, giving them fair and equal opportunities. And as you can imagine, this went down really, really well with WWE fans, and everyone just accepted it and moved on. Right? Right? Wrong. The Twitter universe, of course, imploded on itself. Fans went mental, and we've seen trends likes of hashtag cancel WWE network go viral. It was that bad that they, in fact, had to redo the whole Money in the Bank ladder match the next week on SmackDown, with Carmella actually unhooking the briefcase this time herself. Seriously, though, who actually signed off on this being a good idea? Like I say, sometimes it's not always about the run as the Money in the Bank winner afterwards, which obviously Carmella's was pretty decent, and of course she was actually successful. But the way in which she won, and the fact they had to redo the whole Money in the Bank ladder match again, has to put her, of course, in number one. Or James Ellsworth, technically, as he is the first ever Mrs. Money in the Bank. So there you have it, our top 5 worst Money in the Bank winners. Do you agree with our list? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, please make sure to like, leave us a comment, and of course, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the Wrestling Group today.